Welcome. We are so excited to be doing podcast number 7. Can you believe it? We're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Pandora. Bonnie, did you know that we had so many 5-star reviews? We're even getting comments from around the world.
Molly, that is so impressive. Wow. Podcast number 6 that featured my husband, Rabbi Gerald Sussman, we discussed origins. And we got such great reviews on that one too. This time we're continuing the discussion with a special guest on origins of returning communities. Today we'll be discussing B'nai Anusim. They're sometimes called crypto Jews, they're sometimes called conversos, and sometimes they're called Moranas. And I know there's been a lot of debate, machloket, around what they should be called. And soon I'll be asking our special guest, Rabbi Barbara Aiello, to tell us what she wants to be called. Okay, Molly, please give Rabbi Barbara her introduction.
Yes, my pleasure. Rabbi Barbara Aiello serves as Kulanu's vice president of the board and Italy's first and only woman rabbi. Currently, she serves the B'nai Anusim congregation Ner Tamid Del Sud, the Eternal Light of the South, a recognized Reconstructionist synagogue, and the first active synagogue in the
Calabria.
Well, beautiful. Thank you. In 500 years since Inquisition times. Rabbi Barbara is a graduate of Indiana University of Pennsylvania and holds an MS from the George Washington University. She was ordained at the Rabbinical Seminary International and the Rabbinical Academy in New York City. She is a founding board member of the International Federation of Rabbis, a mentoring rabbi for the International Jewish Studies Program, Darshan Yeshiva, and a blogger for the Times of Israel. Thank you, Rabbi Barbara, for joining us.
Thank you so much. It's a real pleasure to be with you.
So, Rabbi Barbara, come, resolve the dilemma. What do you want to be called?
Well, I am a bat anusim. I am a daughter of ancestors who were forced, Jewish ancestors who were forced to give up their Jewish religion and accept adult Christian baptism. The plural, of course, is B'nai Anusim, and the male is Ben Anusim. That's the Hebrew phrase is not something that is often heard, and so crypto Jews, Moranos, and conversos are kind of under the B'nai Anusim umbrella, if you will. And the term Moranos is an insulting term, originating from the Spanish word for pig. And there are a number of historians and archivists who believe that the word Moranos should not be used. But I use it and with its disclaimer, because many times that's what people know. That's the most popular of the terms that I mentioned. And if I don't use it, sometimes people who have lost Jewish roots think I'm not talking about them. So I try to teach and educate people about B'nai Anusim, understanding that many people know us as Moranos, conversos, and crypto Jews.
What's really funny is when I would spend Shabbos in Brazil, in Recife, I was with a whole group of what they wanted to be called was Moranos. And I said, well, in America, we're calling you crypto Jews or conversos or B'nai Anusim. And they said, no, we're really Moranos. Mm-hmm. So I found, okay, maybe this political correctness that I'm being corrected to is not what people want to be called. And I actually want to respect how they view themselves.
Absolutely. And I run into that all the time too. We get about 50 emails a week now with people saying, I think we're Jewish, I have a Marano background. And if that's the way people identify, I just like them to understand that when they hear the term B'nai Anusim, the children or the descendants of those who were forced to give up their Jewish religion, to abandon it and become Christians, that they understand that they are part of that group.
Molly, you want to ask about Barbara's family, right?
Yeah, can you share a little bit more? I know that you grew up in Pittsburgh, just like I did, so we have that in common. But you shared a little bit about what it was like to grow up, and so I think that'd be of interest, to all of our viewers and listeners out there.
Yes, indeed. I grew up in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh Pirates, Hornets. That's right. Even God, that goes back, and the Steelers, which of course you can only pronounce as Stillers. And I remember someone asking me one time if I was from Pittsburgh after I had done a presentation, and I thought, oh my, please tell me I don't still talk that way. But it's quite a very particular accent. My parents were refugees from World War II. They would have gone anywhere, wherever they could have had a visa: Canada, Israel, Australia, England, but they got a visa to the United States. And in those days, in order to enter the U.S., you had to have a sponsor and a job. And so maybe you're familiar with Aiello's Pizza in Shadyside. Well, that family sponsored my parents, and they had never met. They had never met each other. So it was really truly an act of love that they did that. And my parents lived in Beachview, Dormont. I don't know if you're familiar with the South. It was called the South Hills of Pittsburgh. It is not this Jewish community that everyone knows called Squirrel Hill. And that is the Ashkenazi community, and our family is Sephardic, for the cultural group from the Mediterranean. And so I didn't even know there was another community that existed, because there was, of course, a great deal of animosity and kind of friendly fire between Ashkenazi and Sephardic Jews. And my parents found a synagogue, and I remember my father telling the story about someone coming up to him shortly after they had arrived and said, "So, Antonio, which synagogue are you going to join?" And my father said, "What? There's more than one?" He had no idea of the richness of the Jewish experience, because in Italy, of course, was very much involved with Jewish persecution during World War II. And of course, the forced conversions in the south of Italy, and the toe of the boot, if you can imagine the boot of Italy, in the toe where our family is from, and where 50% of the population was Jewish prior to the Inquisition. And when I got to university, I decided I wasn't going to observe anymore, because I grew up in a strictly traditional Orthodox setting, which is very much what you find throughout all of Europe. Europe is generally more traditional in Jewish belief and practice than the United States is, or North America, including Canada as well. And as time went on, I had new respect for my parents, who came to a country where they didn't know the language, didn't know the money, didn't know the job situation. The only thing that was familiar was the synagogue. And so I grew up in that setting. I think one of your questions, if I can jump ahead, was why I became a rabbi. Well, from when I was a little girl, we were up in the balcony, of course, the women and the girls, and my dad sang, and he wasn't a cantor, but he had a good voice. He was a musician, actually. And when the Torah came out of the ark, it looked like a ballet to me. And so I became a rabbi like this, looking down. And it gave me a very unusual perspective that I think sometimes a lot of people don't have, because even in other Orthodox synagogues, there's a mekitza with both men and women on the same level, with the separation between them. but being able to see it, like see the Torah procession and the Hakafah that way, had an enormous impact on me.
That's so interesting. So tell us, so your parents identified as Jewish too.
Yes,
So
they did.
where
They
is the
did, but
beginning of the Anusim line?
all the way back to Toledo in Spain, and that is family lore, because as most Anusim who are attempting to connect with their lost Jewish roots, it's almost impossible to find documentation. Of course, we have Jeannie Milgram to thank for all the work that she's done, and the guidelines that she's laid out for people looking. But for the most part, by the time the Inquisition got to Italy, chasing the Jews from Spain to Portugal to Sicily to the Aeolian Islands to the toe of the boot, and then eventually to this mountain community, one of many, so that the isolated mountain community where Jews could hide. Not only were synagogues taken over and turned into churches, which we hear about a lot, but many times we don't hear about the fact that Jews were forced to bring all their documents and holy books to the piazza, and they were lit on fire. And so finding any documentation is really, really difficult. And many people will tell me that when they look for a birth certificate or they look for a marriage document, I had someone come to me. We do a lot of I should back up and say we do a lot of surname research. If we can trace a surname from Spain all the way to Italy, we can say we can be fairly confident that the name was a Jewish name. That does not mean the bearer of it, of the name was Jewish, but when it made its migration, when the name traveled, there's a very good chance that the name indicates anyone with that name was Jewish. And my family, my grandmother was the bearer of Jewish tradition, and my lighting candles on Friday night in the cantina in the basement, and I'm talking about Pittsburgh and growing up. When my father brought his mother to the United States, on the first Friday night, she took her candelabra and her candles, her wine, and her challah, put it in a basket and started down the basement stairs. And my father said, "Mama, this is America, the land of the free, the home of the brave." She said, "Non sono sicura, you never know." And she continued to light candles in the basement for the rest of her life.
It seems like some of the crypto Jews are so used to being hidden that when they have the feeling that they want to come out of it, there's difficulty because so much of the hiddenness and secretiveness is ingrained in their culture and in their belief system. Rabbi Barbara, I want to move this forward because mostly I want to hear about your synagogue and your exciting programs and even your bar mitzvah projects.
Yes, indeed. Well, we are proud to say we are a Kulanu community. We fit the bill of lost, emerging, and isolated communities. We are in as I said, the toe of the boot. We are the only synagogue in the entire region of Calabria, which is the geographical size of the state of Virginia. And we are only one of 6 communities, 6 non-Orthodox communities in all of Italy. And we started the synagogue 20 years ago, or actually I should say 18. I started in Milan for 2 years as the rabbi there in a synagogue called Lev Kadash, which met in a condo, so we called it our condo-gog. And we have a stand.
I love that. I'm in Boca Century Village now. I go to a
Condagog, yeah. And that's where I started out as Italy's first woman rabbi, and I still am. I'm still waiting for some colleagues. And I've been here 20 years now. And in 2014, we enlarged it. We started out in 2006 in a small study room, and then we have a standalone building now. And that was in 2014. We support the synagogue with a destination bar and bat mitzvah program, and we have families that come from all over the world who want to show their sons and daughters that there are places in the world where it's not easy to be Jewish. And unlike many destination settings, and even sometimes in the programs in Israel as well, the bar and bat mitzvah students and their families get to meet our congregants, because every bar and bat mitzvah is open to our local people. But we had a family drive 7 hours to see a bat mitzvah so that their daughter could see a girl read from the Torah and encourage her. And that encourages me when I see that kind of interest. There are places in the world, so say the parents of our students, where it's not, as I said, not easy to be Jewish. And one young boy from New Jersey said last year, he said, we have so many synagogues in our town, and you can go to different ones and you can find the one you like. And a lot of people don't go. And he said, I think Americans have become complacent. And I think it's true. Sometimes it's, we have more than so many others, and yet we have people who come to our Shabbaton weekends, which is what we do, 4 big Shabbaton weekends in between Rosh Hashanah and Shavuot, and people come on a Friday and stay until Sunday afternoon. And some of them.
Rabbi Barbara, we only have a few minutes left, and I have 2 more big important questions.
Oh my goodness!
That you should answer in 2 sentences each.
Okay.
In 2 sentences, what's your interfaith projects? And in the last 2 sentences, what advice would you give to people who are looking to return that call themselves crypto Jews?
Okay. Our interfaith projects, I'm really fortunate to have the parish priest who is very, very supportive. He himself has Jewish roots, so he's very open to what we're doing. We do sidewalk summer school, where we bring tables onto the pedestrian mall, and children's books in Italian. And so the African children and the Muslim children are able to come and learn a little Italian. We have a little punch card. When they've been with us 5 times, we give them a book, and both the priest and I do that together. And we share Hanukkah, because in the Catholic Bible is Maccabees 1 and 2. And so Don Gigi, which is the name of our local priest, he reads from his Bible, and then I share from the Talmud, and we light 50 Hanukkahot in the synagogue.
Oh, wow, that sounds
really beautiful.
That sounds unbelievable. Now, in 1 sentence, what advice would you give?
My advice would be, don't fall prey to imposter syndrome. If you feel you have Jewish roots, it's the light in the neshama and the soul that is burning bright, the little flame that was almost extinguished. Don't feel as though you don't belong. Even though established Judaism in many cases has put up more obstacles after the main obstacle of your ancestors having been forced into Christian conversion, now there are obstacles for people wanting to come back. In our synagogue, we say you can discover and embrace your Jewish roots. If you're happy to discover them, you are welcome. If you want to embrace them, we offer a conversion program, but we extend the hand of Jewish welcome to all B'nai Anusim, and we welcome them with open arms.
Thank you so much, Molly.
Yes, thank you. That was really, really beautiful. And I always love hearing you and all the stories you have. It's just amazing. So thank you so much for being our guest today and sharing so much, and for also being on Kulanu's board. We really appreciate all you do. So thank you.
Thank you.
I hope everyone enjoyed this podcast, and be sure to share and like it and leave some more comments. And we love hearing from all of you. Thank you so much. See you soon.
Thank you, Rabbi Barbara. You're terrific, and thank you for all you do for Kulanu.
My great pleasure. Thank you for having me on the podcast.
Kulanu.org. So it's KULANU.org/donate.